Hey, this is Kevin Alvey with Figgy Pop Fig Farm and Alvey Gardens. I've been asked several times now to basically do an overview of all of the trees I have planted in ground, and that would be Zone 6B, Southern Indiana. So I'm kind of do an overview. I should have 21 trees planted in ground in the nursery, and then everything else is in pots. I'll do an overview of the self-irrigating pots, the SIPs that I have, and then do all of the in-ground trees. And then I'll do a separate video on all of the ones I have in pots, which is obviously a ton, because the point is to then eventually put everything in ground that's cold hardy enough to go in ground, and then keep the other ones in very large pots so I can get some very large trees. So first I'm going to start with the self-irrigating pots, and these are 22, 25 gallon livestock mineral buckets, mineral tubs. So basically you can get these off of Marketplace, or if you know a farmer or a rancher that has cows, they typically will have a ton of these to just give away, and they tend to dispose of them if you don't get to them. So it's good if you actually contact them, because then you're recycling, and they make really good self-irrigating pots because they're so big and they're closed, so you actually have to drill a hole in it. So if we're talking about a self-irrigating pot, I have a pipe here, and that's for filling the water, and what's inside are 5 1-gallon, well, for us it's almond milk, but 1-gallon containers with holes drilled on the tops and the bottoms, and then landscape material over that with a hole in the center where the soil dips down into it, and then soil filled up from there to the top of the pot. And okay, so with that being said, here the first one is a strawberry Chico, and I got that from Amy. And she shipped all the way from California, and just gifted me some cuttings, and I rooted them and then put one in one of the sips. Since I had several varieties, or several of those of that variety, I put each one in a different potting method. One in sip, one in 10-gallon, one in 15-gallon, one in 3 or 5, just to see how they would operate differently. The really nice thing about this one is, all on its own, is it decided that it wanted to be a nice scaffold tree. So it's all set up. I didn't have to pinch out, and it did, and I might come back and pinch it out later and get it to the right height, but it really kind of made a nice form. Put on some fruit. None of those have ripened just yet, but I'm hoping to get 1 or 2 before season's end. All right, the second is the Pratja Ramada, which I have no clue how to pronounce that. Again, self-irrigating pot, and it is a huge tree. In the pot, it is 8 feet tall. So, and this was from Rich, and he sent me some cuttings, and I rooted them, and this thing's become a massive tree. And I'd only put on a couple, but I didn't get this till I think May of this year. And so this is from rooted in May, and then it just took off. It just didn't want to be in a smaller pot, so I had to put it in a sip, because it was just struggling in anything I had it in. All right, the next one is a Peter's Honey, and I had several Peter's Honey, and those were from Steven. And again, what I did with those is I put one in a sip, one in the ground, one in a 5-gallon pot, one in a 10-gallon pot. And again, just trying to follow them and watch them and see how they behave. The nice thing about these is the stems really are thickening up a lot bigger than the ones that are in smaller pots. The ones in ground, these in the big sips are equivalent to. But the crazy thing about the Peter's Honey is this thing was, no matter what I did to it, it was just fighting me the whole way, telling me I want fruit, I want to make fruit. And it wouldn't allow me to just pluck off the fruit and then put all its energy into growth. It just wouldn't do it. So I did pinch to try to right here to try to get some ripening fruit. And I haven't had any yet, and here we are, you know, 1st of October. So let's hope that we get some nice enough weather and not a freeze so that I can kind of get some fruit from it. The next one is Lounge du Out, which again, I don't know how to pronounce. And the crazy thing about this one is the stem really got, the LDA really got massive being in ground, and it is the same size as the one that I put in ground. I also have 3 or 4 of these, so again, each one got a different potting method: in ground, in a sip, in a 5-gallon pot, and a 10-gallon pot, and just trying to test to see how they want to go. And again, it is loaded with fruit. So I've been pretty lucky to see fruit in the first season. These are all not even year old. You know, some are 6 to 9 months old. So to have them have that much fruit on them is just mind-blowing. All right, next one is a Smith, and same deal, really thick. This is the only Smith I had. This is one I got from Richard in New Jersey, and it has done fantastic. It is 6 feet tall, standing here right in front of me. Not even 6 months old and loaded with fruit. I don't know that I'll get to see any. I don't know if I'll get a ripe one, but we'll try, and we'll see what can happen here. But you know, I'm not gonna be mad if I don't get any, but I sure would like to. All right, the last self-irrigating pot is a yellow long neck. Now this one really wants to be bush form. I'm gonna try really hard that in the pots, I'm gonna try to give them a nice scaffold form. So it'll take a lot of work to get this to be anything but just a bush form. But it's all right. That'll just give me more fruit, more branches, more fruit. So, but I'd really like to see the tree forms in the pot. And like I said, I got 4 of these, and each one is in a different potting method. So we'll get to see really what they look like. So what I've learned about SIPs, self-irrigating pots, for figs, they work really well for giving a lot of soil, you know, especially if they're very large. So like the 25-gallon SIPs allow you to water about half as often as a regular pot. And they really do tend to, like the plants that I've got in SIPs are looking just about the same as the plants I have in ground, in essence of the width and structure of the base of the tree. So I'm really happy with the SIPs versus the 10-gallon or smaller pots. But again, those are all temporary anyway. Everything that was in those in any pot other than the SIPs is supposed to be temporary, and they were going to get up potted to 25-gallon or get planted in ground. So I hope that was helpful. I hope that was a good overview of the SIPs. And if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Again, this is Kevin Alvey with Figgy Farms and Alvey Gardens.